minutes. In a few minutes, we'll announce the people and groups that are being recognized for their accomplishments in the past year as ACA members and clubs and organizations. And members of ACA's leadership team will provide an annual report and budget overview. You'll learn that in the past year, we've had some powerful successes and that we're in a strong financial position with plans for increased member services. Before you hear that, though, I want to take a moment and remind everyone of a little bit of our history. The American Canoe Association was formed during a meeting August 3rd to 6th, 1880, just 15 years after the end of the Civil War. Reconstruction was coming to the end, and the U.S. was entering a period of technological growth and economic prosperity. As this started, a group of 24 paddling leaders representing clubs from the U.S. and Canada met on the shores of Lake George, New York, to form a paddling association intended to, quote, unite all persons interested in the use of canoes and kayaks for the purpose of pleasure, health, or exploration by means of meetings for business, by camping, paddling, sailing, and racing, by keeping details, drawings, and dimensions of hulls and rigs, collections of maps, charts, books, and photographs, and by cooperating with other organizations sponsoring canoeing programs and water sports. Article 1 of ACA's first set of bylaws stated, this association shall be called the American Canoe Association, and its object shall be the promotion of canoeing. Article 2 made it clear that a wide range of craft were considered canoes. They defined a canoe as a boat sharp at both ends and not more than 36 inches in width on deck that could be propelled by a paddle or sail, but must be efficiently propelled by a double-bladed paddle. And I remind all my single-bladed friends that they still did allow single-blade paddles with that, but they just required double-blade paddles. Membership was open to all persons of respectable character, of any age, who possess a true love of nature and are in earnest sympathy with the brotherhood of cruising canoeists. Membership benefits included an annual newsletter that contained race results and trip reports from members. More importantly, members of the ACA had opportunities to use boats owned by clubs affiliated with the ACA. That was important because at that time, recreational paddling happened out of boathouses on the water. People would store their boats at a boathouse, travel to the boathouse by foot or streetcar or by riding in an animal, and then paddle from that boathouse. So traveling to new paddling destinations created logistical challenges made much simpler by having access to locally owned boats. Early membership dues included a $1 initiation fee and then $1 per year, the equivalent of $29.10 a year today. Our dues today are a bit higher because we do provide a wider range of services. To our founders, canoeing meant two things, racing and cruising. No mention was made of education, stewardship, or safety. And in fact, an article describing the founding of the ACA noted that it was then considered a very dangerous thing to upset, and fatal results were expected as a consequence. Our original purpose was the promotion of canoeing, and later leaders defined that promotion as 4 core paddling missions: education, competition, recreation, and stewardship. They seem to have identified cruising as recreation, and ACA's founding meeting in 1880 included 3 days of competition, so that was at our start. Education, and particularly safety education, was important early on. The same article mentioning that upsets were expected to be fatal described a paddler executing a series of magnificent capsizes and recoveries, early self-rescue training and practice by ACA's founders. Stewardship and conservation were viewed differently in 1880 than they are now, but we know that outdoor enthusiasts such as the ACA's founders were integral to the modern conservation movement. As we move closer to the future, you can read through the 100th anniversary yearbook that's available on ACA's website, and we learned that we only had about 4,500 members then and less than 400 instructors in 1980. But 100 years after our formation, our members showed the same enthusiasm for paddling as did our founders. Now, 142 years after our founding, we have members spread across the world, and they've paddled on, or at least at, every continent, including Antarctica. Our 150th birthday celebration will be Saturday, August 3rd, 2030, less than 8 years away, and I hope that all of you will join us for what I expect to be an outstanding celebration of paddling. We are not at that celebration yet, but we do have things to celebrate right now. This year, we've added 2 staff members supporting DEI efforts and member communication. We've supported training for our members in workshops in DEI. We've certified new instructors and are building a pool of new paddling leaders. We have funded a third-party review of our educational programs and an ITE conference to be held in 2 weeks to begin implementing recommendations from that review. Our athletes continue to paddle and succeed on the national field, and we've continued to operate in the black, generating an income surplus that we can use to provide improved member services next year. That will lead to new staff positions to better serve our members and additional funding to continue strengthening programs in all of our missions. Before we discuss last year's successes and next year's plans, I'm going to turn the meeting over to our Executive Director, Beth Spillman, and our Safety Education and Instruction Director, Kelsey Bracewell, as we celebrate the work done by our members this past year. And then after that, we'll discuss our annual report and budget. Thank you. And Beth, I'll turn it over to you and Kelsey.
All right, thank you, Robin. Actually, Kelsey is going to give out the national award, so I will hand the meeting off to Kelsey. Let me stop sharing.
Thank you. Sorry, I was muted and could not unmute myself. I apologize. If you would allow me to be co-host, I'd like to share a slide deck that I've prepared. Thank you. All right, pardon the delay, everyone. I greatly appreciate it. Is my sincere honor to be here with you today to present our 2022 National Awards. If you're new or haven't been to one of these before, we present a series of prestigious awards to individuals and organizations every single year who've illustrated leadership, service, and dedication to our various aspects and core functions about paddle sports. The awards that we are going to deliver this year are Excellence in Instruction, the Volunteer of the Year Award, Sanctioned Event of the Year, the Havens Leadership Award, and Legends of Paddling. So again, it is my honor to recognize this year's recipient of the Excellence in Instruction Award as nominated by your peers, students, co-leaders, and other people. And that is, excuse me, Mr. Trey Rouse. I'm so sorry. I'm also having to admit people into the meeting while I'm doing this. Forgive me. That recipient is Mr. Trey Rouse. As written by one of his nominees, he had multiple. Trey believes in the transformation and the power of water. He's an amazingly effective instructor because he gives his students room to form their own relationships with water. The best way that I can describe Trey's teaching is if he and his students were on a road trip to somewhere together. Some instructors might choose to drive, demonstrating a perfect route from point A to B. Some instructors might opt to take the back seat and tell the student to go wherever they end up. And then Trey gives the power to deliver a map and a compass, hops into the passenger seat and offers to make sure they have a great playlist along for the drive. Let's say that student makes some wrong turns along the way, but that is when real learning happens. And so in Trey's classroom, paddlers navigate their own path to discovery. And he does a wonderful job of creating a judgment-free zone, a safe learning environment where students are free to explore their potential, learn from their mistakes, and celebrate all of their successes. This rare and beautiful approach to instruction is one that really deserves to be honored. So if you would join me in the chat in congratulating Trey as the recipient of the 2022 Excellence in Instruction Award. The next award that I have the honor to deliver is the Sanctioned Event, excuse me, wow, I messed up. That's not Sanctioned Event, it's not in the right order. It is the Joe Pina Volunteer of the Year Award. And this year, our recipient is the Paddle Sports Angling Work Group and Advisory Board. And so you may not be familiar with this, but this year, this group of individuals listed here, along with some of the paddle sports angling curriculum co-authors, Josh Luckett and Donald Dim, assisted by a handful of other really cool curriculum development assistants, Jeff Atkins, Trey Rouse, Julie Munger, Byron Beers, Brent Roth, Lynn Andrus, Daniel McKee, Daniel Rogers, Andy Demetrio, and Andrew White, put together some rough curriculum and reviewed it and revised it and tested it, piloted it, reviewed it again, submitted it to the SCIC, and have successfully relaunched our kayak angling group curriculum and a whole new rollout to make this a reality here in the US. And so in the coming year or two, you're going to see some great examples of this curriculum in use, and we're expanding to a whole new market of people who are going to end up enjoying and safely enjoying fishing from all sorts of paddlecraft. So please, in the chat, join me in saying congratulations and a hearty thank you to this group of people for their volunteerism that generated this great new program for all paddlers who also enjoy fishing. Forgive me again, here we go, the sanctioned event of the year. This is presented to the top ACA sanctioned event as nominated by the public, mainly participants in each of our event. And so, of course, I am honored to give this award to the Green River Takeover. For those of you who might not have heard of it, this first started in 2014 with the idea of trying to get as many women on the Green River in North Carolina as possible at one time, and to have a day where the ladies just take over the river. And it's grown in numbers over the years and become a very special day where almost 100 women get together and go kayaking. Additionally, this event includes a raffle, which raises money for the Live Like Maria and Shannon Christie Memorial Funds. And these honor the memories of two amazing women from the paddle sport community by supporting causes that were near and dear to them. And so this year, 2022, marked the 9th annual Green River Takeover event. And it remained true to its roots by simply having fun on the water together as a giant group of awesome ladies. And all too often, the river can be filled with just men, but this is a day where just women get to take it over. And I want to say thanks to Jamie O'Donnell and Laura Farrell for their leadership and investment into the success of this particular event. Our next award here, I'm hoping that Beth may jump on for a quick moment to speak a little bit about this recipient, but again, it's our honor to award this to Mr. Drew Story.
Kelsey, I'd be happy to jump in. So Drew is a longtime sprint athlete and competed on the national team just a few years ago, but he remains active in paddling competition and paddles in the masters class, and in fact competed this year at our sprint national championships in Ohio. So we appreciate that, but Drew this year has made some very impactful contributions by organizing and leading the Sprint Coaches Association, as well as helping us out from a technology standpoint. When Drew is not paddling, he is a solutions architect at Patagonia. And so through the years, he has helped us in a volunteer role in looking at our technology and helping us shape our technology strategy. So Drew, thank you so much for all your contributions, not just to the ACA, but also to the larger paddling public. We really appreciate it, and congratulations on winning the Havens Leadership Award.
Thank you, Beth. I really appreciate your notes about Drew for us. And so here we go. One of our largest and most prestigious awards is the Legends of Paddling Award. Okay, so the individuals who received this award are inducted into the ACA Paddle Sport Hall of Fame and have just all around, oftentimes for many years, been contributing to the community of paddle sports in a way that affects generations. And so I am particularly, personally and professionally, honored to give this award to Bob and Elaine Moravitz. If anybody happens to have ever met or heard of Bob and Elaine, they were among the founders of ACA's adaptive paddling program in the early 90s. Since that time, the ACA's led the adaptive recreation industry under their leadership and enthusiasm, and among many other really great people, but in the training of instructors and program providers in the best practice for inclusive paddle sports. The core of that adaptive paddling program evolved seamlessly from integrating individuals with physical disabilities to serving paddlers with vision, speech, or hearing impairments. And Elaine, in particular, served as an energetic and organized, empathetic trainer who hosted a lot of these programs, complemented perfectly by Bob, who passionately participated as an equipment distributor and expert. In addition, they too have a true passion for freestyle canoeing and hosted the Midwest Freestyle Canoe Symposium in Ohio each year. And this was a pretty sizable event that drew paddlers from many states, and it included instructional classes and certifications, skills demonstrations, and the famous canoe exhibition. Their tireless passion, dedication, and genuine personalities made a welcoming community for everybody they met, and their contributions to paddle sport will reach paddlers for generations to come. Unfortunately, Elaine passed away this past year, but Bob has continued to maintain contact with the office, making sure that the adaptive paddling kits and other pieces of equipment get delivered to those who need them. And so it's really, truly an honor for them to receive this award. And please, they may not be in attendance at the meeting today, but please give them a round of applause via the chat. And we have one more Legends of Paddling award to give away this year. It is quite rare that we give this award to two individuals, but this person also is a remarkable recipient of this, and it is my honor to recognize Robin Pope. He has guided ACA through decades of growth as both the president of the board and as the chair of the SCIC. He's an ITE in several of our disciplines, and his professional work as a physician's assistant perfectly aligns his expertise in the medical world with the evolving techniques and protocol in the world of river kayak and swiftwater rescue. For his outstanding work in the world of swiftwater rescue, he's received a Higgins and Langley Award, as well as ACA's Excellence in Instruction Award in years past. He represents paddlers and the ACA to other large influential national organizations like the National Boating Safety Advisory Council, the On-Water Standards Program, NASBLA Education Standards Panel, and he's also a specialist for the Boy Scout of America Sea Scouting Program and the U.S. Coast Guard Auxiliary's OxPAD paddling program. And so in addition to all of his instructional activities, he's led the ACA through positive transition, including the regaining of the national governing body for Olympic and Paralympic paddle sports, grassroots volunteer activation within the state director program, support for the DEI initiatives through support of our LEAD program, and positioning us for future success through strategic planning and meaningful partnerships. In all of these roles, Robin illustrates the true meaning of humble leadership and investment into this community that we all love. And if you will allow me to show a very brief video that's been prepared for Robin. Give me one moment.
Hi, Robin. I want to say thank you for all of the time, energy, your commitment, your dedication to the ACA, and also to the people within the organization. I'm clear that I wouldn't be an IT, and I definitely wouldn't be as involved with the organization as I am now if it weren't for you and your willingness to reach out and support and bring folks into the fold. So thank you. Thank you for your mentorship from an ITE perspective when I was going for my IT, and for your support ever since then. And I really appreciate you, and I wish you all the best. Thank you so much, and I hope we'll get to paddle on the Tuck sometime just for fun.
Thank you, Robin.
Hey Robin, this is G speaking from China. Thank you for all your work, dedication, and contribution to the ACA. Take care.
Thanks, Robin, for your selfless service and dedication to improving paddle sports in the American Canoe Association. You've done more to improve the ACA's program than anybody I've ever known in 45 years. Your perseverance through tough times kept the ACA flag flying high. My hat is off to the best instructor, best trainer, and best educator I ever worked with over 40 years. Thank you so much, Robin.
Thanks, Robin.
Thanks, Robin.
Robin Pope, thanks for all your work on behalf of paddlers all across the country. I think it's your turn to go enjoy all the rivers around the United States. We'll look forward to seeing you there.
Hi, Robin Pope， 非常感谢你的辛勤工作，感谢你几十年来服务于 ACA， 为广大爱好者进行的教学与指导，感谢你为 ACA 的使命和未来愿景树立了谦逊奉献的榜样。Thank you very much for your hard working. Thank you for your decades on volunteer, teaching, leading, and setting the example of humility, thoughtfulness, and investment into ACA mission and vision for the future. Thank you.
Go.
Hey, Robin. I sort of wish I could be there in person to see you, but here I am just stuck in sunny Florida. At any rate, I just want to start off by saying that, I always think about the Pareto principle, and I often bring it up, which is, 20% of the people do 80% of the work. Somehow you've turned that on its ear to where you as one person seemingly have done like 80% of the work for the ACA over the period of time. You and I have been over a lot of ledges together and even stuck in a few holes, but we always came out better. Please do get some well-deserved Robin time. Thank you for all you've done for the ACA and for being my friend. Stay in touch. Cheers, Mike.
Thank you, Robin.
Thanks, Robin.
Thank you, Robin, for everything you've done for the ACA. Happy trails.
Thank you, Robin. Appreciate all you've done.
Thank you, Robin Pope, for all you do for the ACA and the paddle sports community.
Hey, Robin, it's RJ Forth. I just want to say thank you for all your years of dedication to the American Canoe Association. It's been a true privilege of serving on the Swiftwater Rescue Committee with you for years. Want to say that anytime you ever spoke during the meeting, everybody stopped and listened and just kind of absorbed everything that you had to say. And I think that's a true tribute to the amount of respect that we all have for you. I remember the first time we ever met, it was at the first Swiftwater Rescue Conference out in Dillsboro. And I remember watching you swim at your module that you were instructing and thought, wow, if I can get better in anything that I want to do, I want to get better and swim like that dude right there. So again, Robin, thanks again. It's been a true privilege of working with you. Best wishes and look forward to seeing you soon.
Thank you, Robin.
Hi, Robin. Thank you so much for your years of service to and leadership of ACA and SAIC. Thank you for being a great friend, teacher, mentor to me over my years of paddling and teaching. I really hope that the future brings you a lot of more opportunity to get out on the water and enjoy the paddling that we so much love. I really hope I can be a part of that with you in the future. See you soon.
Thank you, everyone, for taking a moment to watch that. I also collected several dozen testimonials in writing, that I'm going to give to you, Robin, at the conclusion of this meeting, so that you can continue to remember the many people who you've influenced, who appreciate all of your hard work and just who you are as a person. So thank you, everyone. If you haven't already, please make some notes for Robin in the chat. And on that same vein, Robin, if you will, it is now an opportunity for you to give the 2022 President's Award.
Kelsey, thank you very much. I'm honestly kind of broken up. Thanks to everybody. I don't even know what to say. I really appreciate those kind words, and I will continue trying to live up to them. Let me take a moment. The ACA President's Award is presented by the ACA chair to a group, person, or organization that they believe has made a significant impact on paddling. This is my last member meeting as board chair and my last opportunity to present this award. In considering who might receive it, there's a reason I'm keeping my video off. In considering all the people who might receive it, I thought of all the people who deserve recognition and thanks, and you just saw many of them. Before presenting this year's award, though, I want to take a moment and give thanks to some very deserving people who've impacted paddling and my actions in the ACA. I first want to thank Beth Spillman. Beth joined the ACA in 2019, and despite no history in paddling, hit the ground running to help our organization. As a result of her work, we've paid off outstanding debt, added new staff positions, and generated a budget surplus the last 2 years. And by putting us on a sound financial footing, Beth has set ACA up for future successes, allowing us to offer more programs and services and better engage and support our membership. Beth, thank you. Second, I want to thank Kelsey Bracewell, our Safety Education and Instruction Director. Kelsey has been a friend and a supporter and a coworker for the past decade. She's been a guiding hand in the instruction department, someone that our members can always turn to whenever they need help. And even though her primary responsibilities are instruction, everybody that works in the ACA knows that no matter what needs to be done, she will jump into any role where help is needed. So, Kelsey, thank you for your friendship and your support in the ACA. As an instructor, I also want to thank our SEIC leadership, including Anna Levesque, Dale Williams, Trey Rouse, and Laura Zolliger, who've led the efforts this year to make our instructional program stronger, including spearheading a third-party review of our curriculum and arranging an ITE conference to improve course delivery. Their work will be apparent in a year or two, and I have no doubt that it'll make our programs even better. So thanks to you and really to everyone that has come before you in the SEIC leadership. Where we are now is because of the work that people before us have done, and thanks to everyone who's been part of it. I want to thank Risa Shimoda and Dan Henderson for spearheading and reinvigoration of our competition council, a council that's essential to engaging and supporting our athletes. Their work and the work of the volunteers that they're recruiting will help ACA build competition from the base up, widening our community of paddlers and better supporting all our paddlers. I've had the privilege of working with many ITs and ITEs and instructors who've helped our program and helped me grow as an instructor. People like Anna Levesque, Ann Sonheimer, Tosh Arwood, Kent Ford, Mary Dreamer, Justin Paget, Tom Burrows, Mike Arnoff, Scott Fisher, Jake Vitek, Dave Kessman, David Evans, and Larry Osley, and many, many more like them deserve thanks and recognition. I particularly want to thank my mentor in Swiftwater Rescue, Sam Fulks, who deserves tremendous thanks from everyone in the ACA. Sam is a previous recipient of ACA's President's Award. He served in many leadership roles, certified dozens, if not hundreds of instructors, and taught thousands of students in his more than 40 years of paddling instruction. His impact on the ACA through his actions and the actions of those he influenced is huge, and I don't think any of us can thank him enough. Finally, I want to thank my wife, Joyce, and my son, David. There are many times that I've been in front of the computer or off at meetings supporting the ACA when I could have been with them. And they didn't just tolerate it, but they encouraged and they supported my volunteer work for the ACA, even when it happened on vacations and interrupted family time. Thank you very much, David and Joyce, and I look forward to having a little more free time to be with you. With that, the 2023 recipient of the ACA's President's Award is a person well known to Southeastern whitewater paddlers of a certain age, kind of my age. For several decades, he was an integral part of club instructional programs, but his influence as an instructor, instructor trainer, trip leader, and adventurer took him far from his home in North Carolina. His first-timer trips on rivers such as the Upper Gauley introduced many people, including me, to challenging rivers. His kindness, knowledge, and skill, and his willingness to share these with others influenced countless paddlers. Joe Greiner, this year's recipient, epitomizes the best of club paddling programs. He led trips, taught classes, developed new instructors, explored paddling around the world. I enjoyed hearing about his time in Bhutan, where they talk about gross national happiness. He competed in and helped organize races, supported club events, and volunteered with paddling organizations, including ACA and American Whitewater, to better support the overall paddling community. He's responsible for 3 generations of instructor trainers and thus for hundreds of instructors. Joe's influence made me a better paddler, a better teacher, and a better person. And I know many people who know him would say the same thing. And there are many others who were taught by people he taught who've had an impact without even knowing it. 2 things Joe taught me stand out today. First, he'd paddle with anyone. He welcomed everybody as part of his paddling family, and I was privileged to be part of that. And second, he believed in paying it forward. I can't teach Sam Folks how to do swiftwater rescue. I can't teach Joe how to paddle. And he believed that instead of trying to do that, we should pass on the blessings we receive so that others can receive them as well. But today, I would like to try and pay back a little bit and recognize Joe from all those who influenced him with the ACA President's Award. Thank you.
Thank you, Robin, for delivering that award. If you have more to say, please go ahead.
No, I think that's good. Thanks to everybody. It's been a privilege to be chair, and I'm going to turn the meeting over to you and Andrea and Beth. Thank you.
Yes, of course. Thank you, Robin. We really, really appreciate it. And we honor Joe just as you do as well. One last piece that I've got here to present is the results of our 2022 Recreational Paddlers Instructor Contest, spearheaded by the State Director Program and championed by Andrea White. So this contest was one that ran from May until the end of September for instructors who taught level 1 and 2 coursework and reported it, were entered into this contest. And so there's a handful of different categories. And so what we're going to start off with are our instructors. All right, so instructor category, as you can see here, our winner is Miss Kathy Webster, followed by the following 10: Parker O'Connell, Louise Young, Summer Ellis, Caitlin Harvey, Maria Boyd, Frank Brown, Christina Burns, Dawn Nelson, Megan Shoemaker. And I can't see if there's another name because the admin is in the way. I apologize. But I want to say congratulations to Kathy and everybody who taught level 1 and 2 recreational introduction to paddling courses all over the country. Thank you for entering and participating in this contest and serving the paddling public, the really large, base of people who enjoy paddling, who need that introductory education and instruction. So thank you all instructors who participated. Our next category are instructor trainers and educators. Our winner this year is Mr. Tommy Graham, followed by G. Wu, Alicia MacArthur, Rachel Nagel, Josh Hall, Beth Wiegand, Nancy Usheld, Nate Ostis, Ben Morton, and I think Mike Aronoff. Forgive me, the admin bar for Zoom is here. I'm in the bottom and I can't quite see, but I want to say congratulations to Tommy and again to all of our ITs and Es. Y'all truly are the gatekeepers of our educational programs. A lot of you have volunteered on things like SCIC or other special work groups, publications, discipline committee work. So many meaningful things that make our disciplines and our curriculum and our programs what they are today. So thank you for participating in the contest and for being, the gold standard to which all of us can look up to. Our next category is Paddle America clubs. Our winning club is the Missouri Whitewater Association, followed closely by the Georgia River Network, the Carolina Canoe Club, Georgia River Network, Georgia Canoeing Association. Wow, whoops, it looks like Carolina Canoe Club is on there twice. My apologies. The Arkansas Canoe Club and Georgia, yeah, they are a lot of duplicates. I'm so sorry. I will fix that immediately. But I can say that we have a lot of really impactful clubs that host not only instructional courses and events, but they also do social events and floats and trips and meetings, gatherings, backyard barbecues, things to get the community involved, making a home for people in their local club. And so I really do value every single one of our Paddle America clubs. And I thank you for making that home, for being the community that all of us are so proud to be a part of. Our next category is the states. So all of the results, regardless of instructor, trainer, or club status, most courses that were reported were in Ohio, California, Colorado, Pennsylvania, Vermont, Wisconsin, Virginia, Maine, Michigan, and North Carolina. Thank you so much for all of our instructors and trainers who teach all over the country, in your home state, in your neighboring states, but for those who travel to the other coast or right into the heartland, to help out paddlers, to exchange cool new ideas and meet new people and continue to grow that community that spans not only the US, but across the world. So thank you. We have a few special drawing winners. So we took every single entry into the contest, put it in a random number generator, and it selected the following individuals. So John Jones out of Michigan is going to receive 1 free year of ACA membership and SAIC dues. Congrats, John. Free Paddle America Club membership dues is the Baltimore Canoe and Kayak Club. The following states have special awards that were donated by the clubs and instructors in those areas. The Tennessee winner, Don Nelson. Alabama is Joy Carter. South Carolina, Josh Hall. North Carolina is William Holman. And I can't see the bottom, forgive me for that. The special drawing winners, these are just plain old monetary drawing. Jody, Scott Fisher, Carl Schmidt, Darren Barnett, and April Vios. So thank you to all of these individuals who participated in the contest as well. That is the end of my presentation, and I want to say thank you to everyone who attended to recognize the recipients of all of these awards and for this contest. So thank you, and I hope you enjoy the rest of the meeting.
Kelsey, thank you very much. We're going to turn it over to Beth, and Beth will give us our annual report and discussion of our budget. So thank you.
All right, before we move on to the annual report, we also want to thank our outgoing members of the board of directors, Sarah Leith Vaughn, Rainey Hoffman, Scott Mann, Robin Pope, Brandon Slate, and Cece Williams. Some of these directors, like Scott Mann, have been on the board for many terms, and others have served just 1 term, but they have all made amazing contributions to the ACA, and we really appreciate the time and energy and thoughtfulness they put into the ACA. A lot of nonprofits only meet on maybe a quarterly basis, but our board meets every month. And we, never worry about having a quorum. We usually have almost every single member of the board at our meetings, and we really appreciate, again, the time that they have devoted to the ACA over the past few years. All right, so next, the annual report. First of all, wanted to talk about membership. We in 2022, we actually saw about a 10% decrease in our instructor members. This was not unexpected because during COVID, we granted a lot of deadline extensions and things like that for the instructor certifications. And so once those sort of special exceptions expired, we did expect to see a little bit of a drop off in the number of instructor members. But we saw a 6% increase in the number of individual members, which is really great. And overall, our dues revenue increased by 11%. Next, I'm going to turn the floor over to Anna Levesque, who is going to provide a report on the Safety Education and Instruction Council and Department.
Hey, Beth, would you share your slides?
Oh, I didn't?
Not yet.
Oh, I'm sorry. Can you see that now?
Yes, perfect. Thank you.
Thanks, Beth. Hey, everyone. Thank you so much for taking the time out of your Saturday afternoon in October to be with us. I hope I got a green run in this morning, so I hope y'all got a chance to get out on the water today as well before this meeting. I so appreciate you all being here and being engaged. So my name is Anna Levesque. For those of you who don't know me, I work with an incredible team, including Trey Rouse, Dale Williams, and Laura Zulliger, and of course, Kelsey, who you've been hearing from. And this SCIC Executive Committee is really committed to connectivity, to accountability and empowered leadership and supporting our SCIC members. So thank you to those of you SCIC members who are here today and for all the work that you do, always throughout the year. So what we have done what we've been working on this past year, Robin has already mentioned some of it. We hired a third-party firm called Creature Learning to do an assessment. We call it a curriculum alignment assessment. We have many disciplines, and we want to again create more connectivity and through threads through the disciplines, so that our programming is more easy to understand, is welcoming, and of course is the gold standard continues to be the gold standard for instruction. And they did several member interviews and gathered information. And to be clear, because I think some folks are thinking that we hired them to come in and rewrite our curriculum, and that is not the case. This was an outside assessment, and the discipline committees are of course still responsible for writing a curriculum and making decisions for their discipline committees. So Laura Zulliger, our secretary, is creating a committee to take the Creature Learning's suggestions and start to implement them. So that's happening. We were really excited to launch the Community Paddle Sports Leader, which actually Trey Rouse, who won the Excellence in Instructor Award today, he really spearheaded that program along with a few others. And we're really excited about it. Those of you who are SCIC members, if you haven't checked it out, please do. It is a multi-craft curriculum that is a step before instructor certification. And it's really wonderful. It's really about the safety and leadership components of being a community paddle sports leader. And the three crafts so far are stand-up paddleboarding, kayaking, and canoeing. And I've had the opportunity to lead one. I know Trey has led one, and Mike Wang and Jeremy have led one, and they've been really successful and fun. So please check that out. And if you have any questions, don't hesitate to get in touch with us. The other thing I'm really proud of and excited about is that several instructor trainer educators, and instructors are out in the field working on programming that is inviting underserved communities into paddle sports, and through programs like the LEAD programs that were launched this year. And I believe there are some of you on this meeting. I see some names that I recognize from LEAD participants. So congrats if you participated in a LEAD program. But I'm really stoked to see these initiatives, support them, and continue growing them. We have an ITE leadership conference. So for those of you, ITE is Instructor Trainer Educator leadership conference coming up in November 11th and 12th. And thank you to those of you ITEs on this call who will be there. We're really excited about it, and about, again, creating greater connectivity and brainstorming as a group of ITEs to, again, ensure that we are the gold standard of instruction and share new ideas. So yeah, we're looking forward to that. We're also working on an instructor rendezvous, which would be a meetup for instructors, instructor trainers, instructor trainer educators. We had hoped to have that this year, or in the spring of 2023, but our planning has been delayed, and so we'll be hosting that. We're working on that for the fall of 2023, and we will get those dates to you as soon as possible. But we hope that we can come together and as instructors, as SCIC, have fun, learn from each other, and again, help share great information. So we do have, I just want to, a quick reminder for everyone, if you are an instructor, an IT and ITE who needs an update, meaning your certification is about to run out at the end of the year, please check CMS, right? And see if you are one of those instructors. Make sure, if you need to report your courses, please do so. If you need to schedule an update with an IT or ITE, please do so. And if you really, if you need to request an extension from Kelsey, please do that as sooner than later. So if you have any questions about that, you can reach out to Kelsey, reach out to me. We want to keep y'all as instructors. We appreciate you all. And also another goal for the SCIC Executive Committee moving forward is how do we make the updating process more accessible? And we're working on that. And if you have ideas for us, we're all ears. So, and one last reminder to all of you. So reminder that the discipline committees is really where it all happens. So if you find yourself complaining about something in the curriculum or something about instruction, I highly recommend that you join your discipline committee, whether it's stand-up paddleboarding, kayaking, rafting, canoeing, and that's where you can really make a difference. The ACA is a grassroots organization. There's no like top down. So discipline committees really do the work to create the curriculum. And so you can be a part of that and we welcome you. And lastly, I will say one last time, Robin, thank you so much for your mentorship and for trusting me in a leadership position. And I really appreciate you. So thank you. That's what I got for you on the SAIC side.
So Anna, I think we were going to have you comment on some of the DEI initiatives as well.
Yes. So with the DEI, so I'm also on the DEI board committee, and we hired Lily O2. She's been with us for I think 8 months now. She's our DEI coordinator. She is awesome. If you haven't had a chance to speak with her, meet her, connect with her, I highly encourage you to do so. She's done some great work alongside Kelsey, who wrote an amazing grant for us, the Richard King Mellon grant, I hope I said that right, that allowed us to run LEAD programs. Again, these programs are to create inspire leaders from underserved communities in paddle sports. And we did one in New York. We did one in Maryland. We ran one in LA, and then we just ran another one in Iowa. And again, Trey Rouse, who won the Excellence in Instructor Award, led that last one. And so we're really excited about these programs, and we hope that we get to repeat them next year. And one of our goals is also to create resources for ongoing mentorship for folks who participate in the LEAD programs, and as well as working on DEI initiatives within the ACA and more programming. And yes, thank you for putting up that slide. I want to recognize the DEI board committee, Risa, Lily, John Browning, who's on this call today. Thank you, John, Joe Moore, Beth, and Kelsey. So that is a very quick update for the DEI committee.
All right, thank you, Anna. We appreciate that. And I think there are a lot of people here who contributed or participated in the LEAD program. So it's nice to see you all on this call, and I'm having trouble getting my video to start. There we go. Okay. Let's see. The next thing we are going to give a quick update on is competition. And here is our Olympic gold medalist, Nevin Harrison. And I'm happy to say that she retained her world championship title in the women's 200 sprint canoe in Halifax, Canada this summer. But she was one of many athletes who traveled all over the world representing the U.S. national team, and not just in our Olympic disciplines of sprint, slalom, and paracanoe. We also fielded teams in many other disciplines. We had teams at the World Games in Birmingham this summer. We had men and women's canoe polo and men and women marathon athletes. When I say we, this is a collective effort, not just the ACA, but had the freestyle World Cups in Columbus, Georgia in the fall. And again, sent teams all over the world, sprint, slalom, paracanoe, freestyle, canoe polo, marathon, and many others. So that was a very exciting, sort of our first normal, I guess you'd say, post-COVID year. And then the ACA, in collaboration with River Sport in Oklahoma City and Sarasota, the Nathan Benderson Park, successfully attracted many international events over the next 3 to 4 years, leading to the Olympics in LA in 2028. Our national team coaches, Shelley Oates Wilding, Joe Harper, and Raffle Smolin, held many training camps throughout the year. And we are thankful to Dan Henderson, who has assumed the role of interim chair of the Competition Council in order to help us resurrect and reinvigorate that organization. The other thing that's we have worked on quite a bit this year was getting recertified as the national governing body for paddle sports. And that process takes place every year for all NGBs, but it is one that requires some work. And I'm happy to say that we're at the very end of that process. Next, stewardship. So many of you are aware that a lot of our stewardship initiatives are take place through a partnership with the Outdoor Alliance, which is a nonprofit in Washington, D.C. that does public policy and stewardship work. The ACA was actually a founding member of the Outdoor Alliance, and the other member orgs are small nonprofits focused on human-powered outdoor recreation. So the other partners in Outdoor Alliance include people like the Surfrider Foundation, the International Mountain Bikers Association, the Alpine Club, Mountaineers, and several others. But the idea is that by pooling our efforts and working together, we can accomplish a lot more than we could on our own. And of course, one of the things we do is support state directors in their advocacy efforts. And we want to give a special shout out to Robert Levin and the work that he's done in New Mexico over the past few years. That's a great example of a partnership that we've been able to support. And then at the local level, and this was kind of fun, our slalom, we have a lot of slalom athletes in Washington, D.C., because there are gates permanently set up on a feeder canal into the Potomac River. And there was some concern this year that they were going to remove those gates, which would have been really harmful to our local slalom club. And so Brett Mayer, our public policy director, along with the Washington Canoe Cruisers and other local groups, worked together to make sure that those gates stayed on the feeder canal. The final note is that we just want to invite all members to contact us if you have local public policy or stewardship issues that you might need help with. We're ready to help, and we can also enlist the Outdoor Alliance if appropriate. All right, next, I'm going to turn the floor over to Jerry Dunn, who is going to give us a report on our properties.
Okay, thank you, Beth. I really appreciate that. Well, Lake Sebago, excuse me, the ACA has two main properties that can be utilized by our members. One is Lake Sebago, Camp Sebago, which is Harriman State Park. Harriman State Park and Lake Sebago are about a 40-minute drive from the George Washington Bridge in New York City. So it's very accessible to the metropolitan community. Several premier events were held at Lake Sebago. One was we did host one of the LEAD programs that were discussed earlier. At the LEAD, that's what the picture we have here. We had 7 members of the ACA members were organized by the Yonkers Paddling and Rowing Club. And all 7 of the participants were certified at the level 2 coastal kayak instructor, which was quite significant that we had 7 level 2 instructors in the program. The Atlantic Division assisted in doing some of the preparations, and Lake Sebago hosted, provided meals and recreation and support. And we also did a lot of kayak polo, made its not debut, but got really established at Lake Sebago last summer. The Metropolitan Kayak Polo Club was basically in residence all summer, and every weekend provided free instruction, mostly to the youth. They seem to be drawn to the kayak polo, and provided demonstrations, played a few games, and actually instructed a lot of our kids in kayak polo, which was quite nice. They had lots of boats, lots of equipment, and it was really very nice. The canoe sailing program is alive and very strong at Lake Sebago. Every weekend, there's either a race in canoe sailing, which is quite remarkable if you want to come by and watch it, or there was instruction where any member for free, any ACA member can learn how to sail a canoe. We also had there was free instruction in flat water racing by the Sheepshead, the Rockaway Canoe Club, and canoe training was also offered. I see Lauren Edelman is here. She provided some free canoe instruction, and also there was free coastal kayak instruction to ACA members. We did major maintenance at Lake Sebago. I won't go through all the details, but some of it required a lot of volunteer work, which is really proud of how our members pitch in to dig ditches and do what needs to be done on the maintenance. And the finances are strong. We had over $100,000 in receipts from our various activities, including the rental cabins and day fees, and spent less than $95,000. So we had a positive cash flow for the year. And our reserves are growing, which is very important to us. We are subject to some weather, harsh weather, and sometimes we need some major repairs done. We have the reserves to make sure that can happen if need be. Then our other property where members are entitled to visit, of course, is Sugar Island, which is one of the 1,000 islands. It's just one of them. Actually, I think it's 2. Sugar had some problems because of COVID and travel from Americans into Canada. Sugar Island is actually territorially in Ontario, Canada. And there's some travel issues. So the attendance over the last 2 years has been down, and that puts their revenues down. But they were still able to maintain maintenance. And they still have a very substantial financial reserves also. And they are planning some activities from 2023. They've been approached and are working on right now to have the Canoe Sailing World Championships up at Sugar Island, which would be, of course, in the St. Lawrence River. There has Brett Meyer, who Beth discussed earlier, is working on having a youth camp up at Sugar Island this summer to bring youth for instruction. And we're doing infrastructure upgrades on the island. So the board has approved some expenses that will be pumped into Sugar Island to get the infrastructure back up to speed after some neglect. One important thing about Sugar is that it's added a lot of new ACA members from Canada. Apparently, the Canadians in Ontario seem to really are being exposed to Sugar Island now, since Americans could not get there as much this year. And a lot of Canadians have been chipping in, and they're new members, which is very nice. So, of the other properties, the ACA does have a property which was donated, which is undeveloped in the Fredericksburg area, which is still in possession of the ACA. And actually, development is going around the property, so the property's value is increasing. So it's still in reserve for the ACA. And of course, we have the national office in Fredericksburg, Virginia. Everything is safe and financially sound.
Thank you, Jerry.
Okay, welcome.
Very exciting.
And come to Lake Sebago or Sugar. It's worth the trip.
Exactly. All right. Let's see, financial information. This is some high level information. First, I know people are always curious about where our revenue comes from and how much comes from where. And this first slide with the pie chart is intended to provide more information about that. Of course, the bulk of our revenue comes from member dues. And then we also get grants from the U.S. Olympic and Paralympic Committee, the Coast Guard, and some smaller grants like the one that we got this year from the Richard King Mellon Foundation for the LEAD programs. Another important thing to point out, I think, is that the athletes and their families pay for all their own travel internationally. And that money, even though it comes to the ACA, it's really a pass-through amount. So you can see on this slide that was about $450,000 last year. But again, that is 100% pass-through. So we collect the money from the athletes and then we pay for all the costs related to the events and the travel. And then as far as expenses go, I'm sure it's no surprise to anyone that payroll and staff is our highest expense. And then insurance, well, with the exception of the pass-through for the athlete travel, insurance is also, a rather large expense for us, well over $100,000. And that is even, last year we switched companies, we shopped the insurance, and that was really the best deal we could find. We have, again, Jerry mentioned, we have a very small office in Fredericksburg. It's actually an old house that has that 5 or 6 people work in on a part-time basis. What else is here? Of course, we have to, spend money on professional services like accounting and lawyers and things like that. All right, the next slide. So when the world at large thinks about the financial health of nonprofits, the key measurement is actually net assets. So are the nonprofits' resources growing or shrinking? And even a little bit deeper than that, in looking at a nonprofit's resources, is the nonprofit able to spend them in whatever way they'd like, or are they restricted? And so this slide shows the change in our net assets from 2019, when we ended the year at about $2 million. You can see that's the number way over on the right. And these are all, so the 2019, 2020, and 2021 numbers have all been audited. The 22 number is an estimate, but in looking at the financials, we are estimating that our net assets at the end of this year are over $3 million. And so you can see that there's been substantial growth in our financial resources from 2019, when the net assets were $2 million, to now where it's over $3 million. And as Robin mentioned early at the beginning of the presentation, we virtually have no debt. When I got to the ACA, we had a line of credit with Wells Fargo, and we have completely paid that off. And so we are basically in great shape financially. All right, so the board met yesterday for several hours after meeting before that for a couple hours to talk about the 2023 budget. And so we started with looking at our 2022 actual results, and we adjusted those to create what we called the baseline budget. And that was with a couple assumptions. One is a 4% overall increase in dues revenue due to growth in member counts, because we have no plans to change the amount of the cost of dues in 2023. So this will all come from member counts. And then we factored in a 10% overall increase in payroll, not that to account for the run rate, the staffing expense run rate, and also, recognizing that with inflation, we will be looking at some cost of living increases when we do our performance reviews in January. We assumed that there would not be any change to our insurance cost after, the large increase that we had last year. So the board has agreed to some incremental investments. And if anyone on the board would like to jump in and explain these in more depth, please feel free. But the first one is $75,000 toward SEIC initiatives. This includes continuing the work by Creature Learning on the curriculum review and changes to the framework of the curriculum. And Anna, help me if I'm not accurate. The board also agreed to add some new staff to the team. The board said approved $15,000 toward DEI efforts. And then the Regional Activity Council, the board approved $5,000 for the Regional Activity Council to continue their work with the instructor contest and some other initiatives. And then, so those amounts come from sort of general operating income, but the board also approved some other expenditures that are being paid not by our general operating revenue, but by designated or restricted contributions that we already have, in-house in the bank, if you will. One is to spend some money on Sugar Island, some infrastructure maintenance that needs to be done. Another was to spend some money on a high performance staffing for competition. And again, this is money that came from competition and is designated to be for competition. We also received a donation a few years ago that was intended to provide support to sprint clubs. And the board has approved hiring a person to help conceptualize and administer this program for our sprint competition clubs. And then the board also approved an expenditure of $30,000, again, from a restricted donation that we received several years ago. The purpose of the donation was for us to create a marketing program to help attract youth to paddling and paddling competition. So we've got some really exciting ideas for next year and are super excited to have the budget approved. The other thing about this is that the board also approved adding to our operating reserves. So last year we were able to establish operating reserves of about 4 months of operating expenses. And so just to be financially prudent, the board agreed that we should add another month of expenses to those operating reserves. All right, now I'd like to switch gears. And first of all, I want to thank the nominating committee for their work on determining the nominee slate for this year's Board of Directors election. We have one independent seat that's up for election, and Dr. Robert Kaufman was chosen as the nominee for that independent seat. We also have 2 at-large seats, and we have 3 nominees selected by the nominating committee: Michael Leith, Bev Coslet, and Hunter Brandstetter. In addition, all 3 of our elite athlete representative seats are open, and the nominating, we actually only had 1 nominee from each discipline. So you can see the names there: Zach Locken for slalom, Tom Crockett for sprint, and Jack Wallace for paracanoe. And the athlete rep positions will be voted on only by a certain group of athletes. But with any of these candidates, there can also be write-in candidates whose names are given on the ballot when the ballot's returned to us. So we are planning to open voting on November 2nd and for the voting period to remain open until November 23rd. I want to make sure that everyone's aware that at the end of last week, we also sent out a ballot to the ACA members who are considered to be members of the Atlantic Division. And so that's based on the zip code of the members' residence. And so those went out on Thursday or Friday. And that election will remain open while the Board of Directors election is also open. We will be having yet another election later this year, which is super exciting, and that is for the state directors. The Regional Activity Council, in collaboration with our staff, Brett Mayer and Kelsey, have had an extremely successful sort of, I guess I'll call it a marketing campaign to generate nominees for state directors. And we have over 80 people who have raised their hands, including quite a few people outside the United States, which is super fun. And so we are working through that process, and we want to thank the Regional Activity Council for all their work in helping keep the state director program alive and helping us get to this point. Oops, old drafts. So that's it for the formal part of the program. We have been much speedier than we thought. So we have allotted 15 minutes for questions. And if you'd like to submit a question, please do so through the chat. And Pam Dillon has agreed to be our moderator. So she will be reading out the questions and directing them to the appropriate party. So if you have any questions, again, please submit them via the chat. And I am going to stop sharing my screen.
And this is Pam. I haven't seen any questions come in yet. So if you have submitted one, there was some questions about the lead training and how that is going to be. There's a high level of interest, it appears, in additional lead training moving forward. So if anybody could speak to what the future holds with the lead training, that would be a good item to discuss.
Yeah, so yes, we're all really excited about the lead programs. And Kelsey, I might invite you to jump in here. So Kelsey is writing another grant. So we got a $75,000 grant from the Richard King Mellon Foundation last year that allowed us to run these lead programs and fund them. And so Kelsey is submitting another grant proposal. We also have funds within the DEI. We'll call it a fund, DEI fund, Beth, is that right? And so we anticipate being able to, we will have a formal application process like we did last year. I think Lily O2 is and Kelsey, and we're having a debrief with all of the lead trainers next week. And then, so we're still in the very debriefing this year, starting to brainstorm for next year, and we will let everyone know. And we're really excited about them. And thank you to those of you who participated in them and led them. Kelsey, do you want to say anything else? Before Kelsey jumps in, if she'd like to, again, one of the, I think, big projects is, great, we have these awesome lead programs. We had amazing participants. Now, how do we continue to mentor them, keep them involved, stoked on paddling, training them as leaders because we want more leaders within the ACA and in paddle sports.
Thank you, Anna. I really do appreciate that. And it really was quite a delightful surprise to have written that grant, the first one of its kind that I've ever done, you know, and seeing you, Anna, Trey, you know, Ashley Brown, Jeremy, Mike Wang, all these people who came together to make these things a success. So it's really a delight. And I have already, of course, submitted an application for a very similar program in the coming year. They've not announced the recipients of that quite yet, but most certainly we'll let everybody know if we're one of those. But if y'all recall, the past couple of years, we've done our Giving Tuesday campaigns, you know, on Facebook and Instagram to our DEI fund, and we're going to continue that again this year. So in November, our Giving Tuesday campaign will be aimed specifically at our LEAD program. So even if that grant doesn't come through, we're still going to raise funds to do as many of those events as we can in the coming year. And so if anyone here on this call, if you use social media and you see any of our campaigns and our donation, you know, buckets, please feel free to share that, donate to that, tell your friends about it, tell your family about it, or whatever, you know, because that's how we're going to make these events possible. So thank you.
Thanks, Kelsey.
And Kelsey, the great thing about Giving Tuesday is that there's a match by Facebook, right?
Yeah, so on Giving Tuesday, which I believe is November 29th. Yes, it's the last Tuesday in November. So that particular day, 29th, starting at 8 a.m. Eastern time, Facebook will make a match to all donations made to nonprofits. They only have X million dollars to match with. So usually those match funds are used up, you know, by midday, because there's lots of other nonprofits, you know, fundraising around the same time. So we'll try to make that really clear in all of our posts in our campaign for those who want to donate or support or share. 8 a.m. on the 29th of November is the right time.
Great, thank you. We have a couple questions that came in about the ballot process. One is regarding the bios for those on the slate. Will those be made available for the new board members, and how will that be done?
Yes, they will be made available with the when we send the email out about the nominees.
Okay, very good. And another question about the vote. Are the board vote and bylaws vote on the same timetable?
Yes.
Okay, very good. So I'm assuming that timetable is November 2nd through the 23rd for both. Is that correct? Okay, very good.
And Pam, we should probably mention that for people who didn't attend last Sunday and want to learn more about the bylaw changes, the proposed bylaw changes, after the Q&A, we're going to stay on, and the strategic planning group is going to give an overview of the strategic planning process, and then Robin's going to run through the proposed changes to the bylaws for anyone who wants to stay on.
Yes, and this is a repeat of the information session that was conducted last Saturday, October 23rd. But again, everybody is welcome to stay, whether you went to the previous session or not, but we'll give a brief overview, as Beth said, on the strategic plan, and also get more into the bylaws. And we'll have another Q&A at that point. Jerry, did you have your hand raised? There was a comment that you were trying to step in.
Yeah, I did. When we were talking about the LEAD conference, I just wanted to point out there's a lot of interest in the LEAD conference. The reason the conference that was run at Lake Sebago was so successful is the Yonkers Paddling and Rowing Club, who organized the event and brought the members in, spent weeks with the ACA instructors in that club training the candidates, literally hours every day for 2 and 3 weeks. So when the conference came in, when Ashley Gray came in, the IT came in to teach, the candidates were well instructed, well trained, and the program went extremely smoothly. So I'm just pointing out that there needs to be preparation. If you want to know how we prepared it, and for Lake Sebago, anyone could contact me. But the Yonkers Paddling and Rowing Club put an extensive amount of pre-conference time, making sure the candidates were fully prepared to succeed. And that's why it worked so well. That's all I just want to say. Give them some credit.
Very good. Thank you. Other questions? There were some questions early on about the community paddle sport leader curriculum. And Anna, if you'd like to just brief us on that, please.
I have to get unmuted every time. So yeah, so I mentioned in the chat, so the community paddle sports leader, those of us who have led it, we really see it as actually the first step towards instructor certification. It's really, I think, shaping up to be, if folks would take the community paddle sports leader before jumping into level 1, level 2, they would really get such a strong base for leadership, for safety, for rescue, for how to introduce people to the water without having to go through the minutia of learning like the strokes and how to teach the strokes. I think that those of us who are ITs and ITEs, it's very common that a big complaint that I hear and that I've experienced myself, especially with level 1 stand-up paddleboarding, for instance, is that instructor candidates will show up completely unprepared, even though you've requested that they prepare themselves and that they have a certain level of experience. And if folks just took the CPL, that would disappear. And not only that, but they would have strong leadership skills, strong rescue skills, and then and have the baseline to, yes, I can paddle forwards and backwards and turn, and I can help teach people how to do that without being like, oh, your top hand needs to be at this angle for the forward stroke, and your stern draw needs to look like this, right? And which to me is actually a barrier in creating a welcoming environment for folks, and takes the fun away from paddling, honestly, especially if someone's coming in new. So yeah, so that's what I'll say about the CPL. I'm really excited about it. I know Mike Wang, who led it in LA, and Trey, those of us who've had an opportunity to lead it, really saw a lot of fun and leadership and great rescue skills being developed. And I think it's just great.
And there was a follow-up, Anna, it says CPL as prerequisite, question mark?
I would love to see the CPL as a prereq. Let's not get people fired up on this call, Michael. You know how that goes. All right, so luckily people can't unmute themselves, but that would be a chat for SCIC. And I'm not saying that that's what we're going to do. I'm saying that I want folks to get familiar with it and experience it, and I think you'll be stoked on it.
So I had a direct, thank you, Anna. I had a direct message from Chris, who asked about a sanctioned event notification form. I think Chris will pass that along, and we'll get back to you on that. He was just asking which one to complete for spectator events, making sure they had the right form. But Chris, we've got that noted, and we'll get back to you directly on that. And then there was a question, is there a staff listing on the website? Who can address that one? Is that a Beth or a Kelsey question?
I saw that came in from Steve. I don't think there is, but I can certainly provide one. I know Casey has been working on staff profiles and things for the website, and I lost touch with that initiative. But that's a good question. And Steve, I could certainly provide that to you.
Any other questions at this point in time? And like I said, if you've added one early on and we missed it, please re-ask, but it looks like we have covered most everything to this point. And there'll be an opportunity later on to ask specific questions about the strategic plan and the bylaws. There was a question, can the slides be shared for us to view later? And the answer was yes, we'll post them on the website. So thank you for that. Other questions?
Should we have Robin say his famous phrase for concluding a meeting?
I would be happy to, but this is actually Sam Folks's phrase. I would entertain a motion to adjourn, and all in favor, please hang up.
And so will the strategic plan continue then after people have an opportunity to leave this part of the meeting, and then we'll go into the next part of the meeting just to make sure we're on the same page?
Yes, stay on it's the same Zoom link. So whoever doesn't want to hear the next part is welcome to hang up now. And maybe we'll just are we going to keep rolling, Robin?
Yeah, let's just keep going.
Okay.
Is that my cue for the strategic plan?
I believe that is your cue. If you would.
Okay. Okay, very good. I just wanted to make sure. For those of you who remained on, we're going to take a very short amount of time, about 10 minutes, to update you all on strategic planning initiative that's been undertaken by the ACA Board of Directors. Please confirm that you are seeing the correct slide for me on the ACA draft strategic plan. Very good. Thank you very much. And so the rest of the meeting today, well, as I've said, there'll be an opportunity to talk about the strategic plan and also look at some of the proposed bylaw changes, which we've already announced will be available for a vote November 2nd through the 23rd. But first, take a look at the strategic plan. And we know that where bylaws provide a structure for how the ACA operates, a strategic plan describes what we will do and what we want our future to be like. And those kind of details are not presented in a set of bylaws. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Pam Dillon. I'm an independent director on the board of directors for the ACA. And I've been a life member of the ACA for a number of decades. I've been a competitor. I've been an instructor, an IT and ITE, although I'm no longer active in those roles now. But paddle sports obviously is a big part of who I am as a person. I'm also a certified association executive recognized through the American Society of Association Executives, and strategic planning is just a tool for those of you who are not aware with the process. It's a tool that organizations use to really guide and get everybody on the same page to move forward. So, and that's part of why strategic planning. We lead when we help people see the need for change, arrive at a common vision, and deal with uncertainty as we explore the best way to achieving it. Strategic plans are living documents. They purposely are used to guide, to focus, to communicate, and to implement change. Strategy includes a mean for anticipating the future and building consensus among all of us as members of the ACA on what should be done to address and to welcome the future, including how to adapt when situations change, which may be unexpected. The ACA Strategic Planning Committee is comprised of board members, but it's greater than just the board of directors. This includes leaders from SEIC, from competition, from DEI, properties, divisions, and state directors. And you can see the list of committee members there. We started our work in March of 2022 and have met often multiple times a month to really look at the organization and discuss not just where we are now, but potential for the future. So just where did we start? We started by looking at The information that's published now on our website, you've heard Robin and Beth and others talk about our purposes, our history. We started looking at who the ACA is as a 501c3 nonprofit organization. And as Beth and Robin have both said, the ACA serves the broader paddling public by providing educational programs, supporting stewardship initiatives that affect paddlers, and offering competition opportunities to athletes of all abilities. And that statement has been a fact of our existence for a very long time. The strategic plan the planning group looked at the mission statement, and we did not change it. But one of the questions that we have now is it still relevant? Will it need to be updated in the future? And one of the items that was posted in the chat early on, and perhaps I'll be able to repost it here, and you'll get that, is we have a survey out now that I'm happy to say about 150 people have completed as of today, but we want all of you to provide input into this process. So please open that link to the strategic planning survey and give us your comments. But is the ACA mission still relevant, and will it need to be updated? And I'm not going to read every one of these slides. Every item, though, is spelled out in the survey, so you'll get a chance to look at it and to consider it and to provide your input. Also, the ACA vision, is this still relevant? Does it capture what we want to be, who we want to be? And our vision statement currently is to connect diverse communities by fostering a shared commitment to safety and stewardship, and by providing opportunities for challenge, achievement, and fun through paddle sports. We have a set of ACA core values that are published again on the website. Do these capture who we are and what we stand for? And again, those core value statements encompass enjoyment, safety, inclusion, teamwork, and excellence. And again, these are questions that you'll be able to respond to through that strategic plan survey that is currently posted. So the strategic planning committee started by taking a step back. We all know that many on the committee are involved in a very wide variety of paddle sports activities with the ACA, but we wanted to take a step back to ensure that we weren't just thinking of the ACA through our individual silos, that we wanted it to really reflect on the entire paddle sports community, and how the ACA can serve and does serve those paddle sports, the greater paddle sports community. So we started by looking at completing a scanning process, and this scanning process took a number of months. But we looked at data on paddle sports. We looked at national and local legislative considerations. We looked at cultural impacts, not only to the ACA and paddle sports, but our country culturally, and how paddle sports is positioned to really serve not only our members, but the greater role of society. We looked at technological challenges, and then we did a step back and we looked at some of the ongoing concerns, some opportunities for moving forward, what changes we may be able to embrace that are doable and appropriate for the ACA to embark on. And that led us to a draft of a strategic plan document that we have entitled Vision 2028, Paddle Sports Unity and Growth. Why 2028? 2028 is the date of the Olympic Games, in the LA Olympic Games. And it also is a 5-year time frame for the strategic plan. Robin mentioned we have 142-year history behind us, and we're looking forward to celebrating our 150th anniversary in 2030. This plan is looking beyond just 2028, but we want to make sure that we can focus on how to position ourselves moving forward so that the ACA is in a position to really grow and prosper. The committee has not only developed draft goal statements, but we also have started drafting performance indicators and metrics for measurable results. But we didn't want to get ahead of you and your input as the membership. And here is a link that, again, will be posted in chat, and I posted it previous in this meeting. But we have posted the draft goal statements, and we'll be reviewing those with you here before this presentation is complete. And we're asking for your input on those draft goal statements. And this will end actually earlier than the vote. This is open through November 15th. Based on your member input, the strategic planning group will then look at the goal statements as presented to see if they need to be revised in any way. We'll look at performance indicators. Those will be drafted, and the performance indicators will then be presented back to the membership in a upcoming survey, hopefully before the end of the year. So we have a robust time frame, but we're very, very happy with where we are in the strategic planning process. And I'd now like to invite some of our committee members to present, a few of our committee members to present on these various goal statements. And I'll start with you, Anna, for education.
Sure. So the education goal is to establish and maintain the ACA SCIC program as the leading resource in paddle sports.
And my understanding is this was developed by the SCIC leadership, and it was presented to Strategic Planning Committee through your committee.
We worked on this. This is, again, it's a high level, right? So these aren't tactics. This is the strategy, and it was developed with discussion within the SCIC Executive Committee. So this didn't come from me. It came from the SCIC Executive Committee.
Great, thanks, Anna. Competition, Suzanne Britt, are you unmuted, and can you present competition, please?
Yep, I'm here.
Okay, very good.
So our first goal has to do with more along the lines of development, and that is you'll see written within the document. Our goal talks about development, piloting, and iteration of programs. The idea is to create development as a goal between the very beginning of a paddler's career all the way through past their most competitive timeframe. Our second goal has to do with our most highest performing athletes, those athletes that are trying to be in the World Championships or the Olympics. We don't just have Olympic disciplines, we also have other disciplines that have World Championship competition. The idea is to be able to get them to that level and how to maintain them at that level. Our last goal is pretty clear in its statement: develop a financial mission and vision to support the pursuit of competitive athlete excellence. Obviously, we need to find a way that will continue to fund all of our athletes.
Very good. Thank you, Suze.
Thanks.
Stewardship, Dave Lumian.
Hi, yes. My name is Dave Lumian. I'm a board member and One of the things I found most attractive about American Canoe Association is its focus on stewardship and also on access, which I view as two sides of the same coin. And we, through our process of strategic planning, we've come up with this statement: collaborate with strategic partners to promote advocacy efforts that support clean water access and preservation of public lands and waterways and other stewardship and public policies initiatives important to our members and the larger paddling community.
Good, thank you. Thank you, Dave. Next up is Andrea White, Community Leadership.
Yes, thanks, Pam. Fellow ACA members, first, let me just thank the board, because my very involvement in this committee shows that they're trying to reach down into the membership to build this strategic plan beyond just the scope of the folks at the top of the tower. And as the chair, a former state director, a regional chair of the Regional Activity Council, the fact that they have included us in the strategic planning is momentous. It shows a lot of change is afoot, and change is hard in a 142-year-old organization. So I want to thank the leaders of RIC who have stuck in there for the last 2 years to get us where we are, for RIC being included in the bylaws and for us being included in the strategic planning effort. And let's highlight this goal to establish the ACA as the comprehensive hub for connecting paddlers from diverse communities and disciplines to paddle sport resources and meaningful opportunities for collaboration and community building. Pretty much everywhere in the ACA membership, other than the wonderful and very successful and lauded Atlantic Division, we have not had a regional infrastructure to support the ACA mission. And by building this regional infrastructure, whether that's for stewardship initiatives, whether that's for DEI initiatives, whether that's for an expansion of access to instruction or instruction credentials, there's any number of ways that we can join forces, because as several of our leaders like to say, and I thoroughly agree, the ACA is not them, it's us. And we have a lot of regional leaders who stepped up over the last 2 years to make this happen and to bring us to this place and to set us up for success for the future, so that all of us in our communities, in our state, in our regions can step up and be a part of the ACA mission and be a part of forward progress on the elements that you have a passion for. And these upcoming state director elections and state council volunteers will be a big part of that. So I'm very excited to be here and talking to you. I'm happy to talk to anybody offline that wants to talk about any of this without distracting from this meeting. But I think we've got some real opportunities for ACA engagement and leadership, and a leadership track for these community leaders that we haven't had before. And this community leadership goal as part of the strategic plan is an inherent part of that.
Thank you very much, Andrea. And then finally, governance, and I'll turn it over to our ACA president, Robin Pope, for this. Robin.
Great, thank you, Pam. So the governance goal, and this was a goal that was developed by the entire strategic planning committee, is that ACA will demonstrate best-in-class governance practices with an effective board of directors, staff, leadership, and broad volunteer engagement in councils, committees, and other groups. Governance is how we structure our organization to get stuff done. And when we've got a large organization with a lot of people who have different backgrounds and different interests, we want to make sure that all of them have an opportunity to participate in the leadership, that we try to serve all of our members as effectively as possible, and that we try to provide a transparent process as we're doing that. And so we're really hoping that as we refine this broad goal and then look at specific tactics in achieving it, that we will provide best-in-class nonprofit governance for the ACA. Thank you.
Thank you, Robin. So that's it for the ACA strategic planning goal statements to this point in time. But in the survey, we also have an open-ended question, and that is, what are we missing? What else would you like to say? As you go through the survey document, please take it. You can get the survey done in 8 to 10 minutes, but I invite you to spend as much time as you need on the survey to really provide your insight into how you would like the ACA to what you would like the ACA to be like in the future. I mean, we work through hard work and volunteer efforts. We have done an amazing job over the decades in service to the paddle sport community through the ACA, but where do you want us to, how do we want to steer our various crafts into the future? And the survey, as I said, is open through November 15th. We invite you to provide input and to have your say. What will happen is that after the 15th, the Strategic Planning Committee will look at every single comment that gets submitted. They will go out to various work teams within the committee, and they will then come forward with any proposals for updates or revisions, including those performance indicators. And once again, our goal is to have a second follow-up survey out, if not before the end of this year, but into January of next year. So hopefully we'll continue to push this strategic planning effort forward so that the ACA, through hard work, we're on good grounds to make some real improvements moving forward. And with that, I just want to thank everybody, and I'm going to turn it back over to Robin and Beth for bylaws discussion. Thank you.
Thank you, Pam. I'm going to share my screen and we will. Here we go.
You want me to do that, Robin, or you want to do it? Oh,
I got it.
okay.
Okay. So a little bit about proposed bylaw changes. The information that I'm going to present today is intended to provide a high-level overview of the proposed changes. We have more information on the website with a summary, and then we have a copy of this presentation, a copy of a presentation that was done last year, and the actual bylaws that are being submitted. The general process that we're going to use is that in September, the Board of Directors unanimously approved moving forward with the bylaws that you're going to see. The ACA Board now has submitted them to the membership with a 20-day notice as required by our bylaws, and then our membership has a chance to vote on them. Quorum for voting is a minimum of 100 votes, and we require a 2/3 affirmative vote to change the bylaws. Why are we changing them? First, we want to increase inclusion, member representation, and engagement. And you'll see that there are a number of things that are intended to do that. We also want to reflect current best practices in governance and broaden the decision-making process. The board is actually asking to give up some of its authority and send it out to member constituencies. And then finally, we want to comply with recent changes to the Ted Stevens Act governing national governing bodies. So first, increasing inclusion and engagement. We are adding a fifth purpose for the ACA. Our 4 current missions are instruction and education, competition, recreation, and stewardship. We believe that we should add diversity, equity, and inclusion as a distinct mission for the ACA. We want to, as I said, welcome everybody to our paddling family. We want to make sure that everyone has the opportunity to join, and not just the opportunity, but actually feels welcomed. And that means us not just saying, yeah, come on in, but taking efforts to go out and meet people where they're at, make sure that we're doing everything we can to increase the size of the paddling community and make sure that they have opportunities to paddle. We've tweaked the membership eligibility wording, just making it a little more specific. We'd like to change the member age restrictions on voting. Currently, if you turn 18 on January 2nd of the year that we have voting, you are not considered a voting member. We'd like to increase that so that if you're 18 at the age voting starts, that you can participate in voting for anything that's coming before the membership. Also, to increase engagement, we want to Add a board of directors position for the chair of the newly recognized Regional Activity Council and actually recognize them as an activity council. And then finally, we want to change the policy for selecting the nominating committee that selects board members. Currently, the nominating committee is made up of one representative selected by divisions, one representative selected by athletes, and then 3 that are chosen by the board of directors. In the past several years, my policy has been to turn that over to different constituency groups. This year's nominating committee was selected by SEIC, the Regional Activity Council and divisions, the athletes, and state directors. So the new policy would be that 1/3 of the nominating committee is made up of athletes because that's a requirement of the Ted Stevens Act. 1/3 would be made up of representatives chosen by SEIC. 1 member would be chosen by the Regional Activity Council, and then a final member selected by the board. And presumably that one would be used to help ensure diversity of thought and geography. We also want to include things that will improve our efficiency and decision-making and bring us in line with board best practices. So some changes in Article 7 about board's role and responsibilities, decreasing the board composition from 15 to 12, clarifying when new directors and committee members end their terms. Current bylaws leave that a little bit fuzzy, and we would just set a end of the year date. Currently, board members do not have term limits, and we would set that to 5 consecutive terms or 10 years maximum. We had a lot of discussion about that and recognize that someone who comes into an officer position and holds that position for 2 years could be in for 8 or 10 years, and we wouldn't want to turn them away just as they figure out the position as an officer. And then finally, looking at reducing committee size from 5 members to 3 members for finance and audit, just to make those groups a little bit more nimble and effective. The proposed board composition would include technically 3 and really 4 at-large board members. I say technically because the affiliated organization representative is a required spot under the current Ted Stevens Act, but there are no affiliated organizations in the US, and there is no indication that there would ever be one. It would have to mimic everything that the ACA does, and we're such a large, broad organization, we just don't see that happening. So we have to have that seat, but we would prefer to treat them as an at-large member and allow any member to run for that seat. We'd have 1 independent seat. Ted Stevens Act requires us to have 1/3 representation from athletes. So we would have to have that. Safety, education, instruction, competition, and regional activity council chairs would each have a seat. The properties designee would lose a seat, and the immediate past president would lose their seat. And that brings us down to 12 total board members. So complying with the Ted Stevens Act, to follow the current regulations, athletes who meet some specifications in terms of their service and activity on the international stage, their representation has to increase from 20% to 33 1/3. We would add some language that is consistent with USAPC bylaws regarding those athletes. And there are some things that we have to add in about safe sport and anti-doping that really wouldn't affect members other than athletes. So, if we look at this, as I said, there are really 3 things that we're trying to do. We're trying to increase member representation. We're trying to improve our governance structure, and we're trying to put ourselves in compliance with the Ted Stevens Act. I know that there are questions and concerns about doing that, and the board has spent a lot of time and effort trying to come up with something that best serves all of our members. There was a lot of intense debate, and I think the board came to what they feel is the best solution for all of our members, and to a solution that is looking forward to opportunities for growth, opportunities for fundraising, opportunities for exposure. And so with that, I will be happy to answer any questions or turn them over to people who can better answer them. And I'm going to stop sharing. And Pam, if you would like to read questions, and then
sure,
Beth or Kelsey or anybody else can help me with those.
No questions have been posted that I'm seeing yet.
Okay.
But I'll put a shameless plug in again to thank Andrea for posting the survey link. And also mention that the survey is open to non-ACA members, lapsed ACA members, club leaders, paddling, anybody within the community. So please feel free to share the survey link outside of the ACA current membership. And thanks for that reminder as well, Andrea. I have not seen any specific questions posted yet regarding the bylaws. Oh, but Mike Aronoff has his hand raised. Can we unmute?
I don't know. I don't know if we can unmute Mike. I'm kidding.
Okay, I can unmute you, Mike. Go ahead, Mike.
Here we go.
All righty, hold on. I just wanted to clarify, previously there was a minimum number of days for voting, and now it looks like that's been clarified, that voting will end on the 23rd, period, end of story. Is that correct?
Yes, that's what we've set up, and I believe that the minimum number of days for voting is 20. So we're exceeding that.
But the maximum is going to be the 23rd.
Maximum is going to be the 23rd. Yes, sir.
Okay, good. Yeah, I just wanted to clarify that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Couldn't thought it could be extended.
No, that's 23rd. We're done.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. And Mike, since you came on, I'm going to add something. At a recent meeting, Mike and I had some discussions about this in a discipline committee reading, and Mike and I completely agreed on something. Read the bylaws, make sure you know what you're voting on. This is an important vote. Take the time to read what you're voting. The board did unanimously support this, but this is a member organization, and we hope that you will support it. But if you don't, we respect everybody here, and we welcome everybody's opinions, and we are all committed to being a paddling community. And I'm appreciative that everybody is part of that community.
And Robin, if I could, there is a document on the website that's a side-by-side comparison of most material changes to the bylaws. My intention was to post a red line version that compared the old versus the new, but not to bore you all with the details, we can only post PDFs. We use certain file formats on the website, so I cannot post a Word document that does that on the website. It just won't work. So if what I have on there is, if anybody wants to see that, they can request it by emailing a certain email box, and I will email it to you, but I cannot post that on the website. Or maybe somebody out there can tell me how to do it, but I couldn't post it in such a way that it retained all the red lines. Yeah, actually, I tried that, and maybe I didn't do it right, Donna. Thank you for that. When I printed it to PDF, it took away the whole red line thing. But I don't know. I can try it again. Okay. All right. Look at all these people offering to help. All right. Thank you. Oh, goodness. Drew, I'll get back with you. You can help me.
I do have a couple questions that came in. This is for Robin and Beth. Does the board see any potential issue with the majority of the board being NGB supporters for elite, a competition council, and a potential affiliate organization, 6 of 12?
So yes, that was something that was discussed at length. We do not anticipate that there will ever be an affiliate organization within the U.S. So I don't think that that's an issue. In terms of the Competition Council represents all forms of competition, Olympic and non-Olympic disciplines, everything from the citizen race that's going to be held next Saturday to the Olympics and World Cups and Pan Am Games. The other thing that was considered was that we've made it easier for for people to be qualified as an athlete, increasing the number of events. And we already know that there are some very high level instructors that are engaged in some of the competition committees. For example, Chris Wing is, I believe, a member of the freestyle committee and therefore eligible to be the competition council chair. But Chris is also a level 5 IT or ITE.
Anna has her hand up.
Anna, you'll have to unmute.
Unmute.
Okay.
Yeah, can you hear me now?
Yes, ma'am.
I would just like to, as the SCIC representative, I just also like to add that I've spent a year working on the board, and it is to assume that folks who support competition do not support instruction is not accurate. So my experience of being on the board is that the competition folks are very supportive of instruction, and we can work together very well. And that's been my experience. And so I would encourage everyone to not have this attitude of us versus them. We are a paddling community. We are an organization that has many different areas. And I think that we can work together to grow the sport and to have success in all of those areas. And the us versus them attitude, or assuming that just because someone's and so I was a freestyle competitor for several years, y'all. That's how I made my name. That's how I grew my instruction business, is because I was a top athlete for several years. And athletes and instructors can work together. And I think that there's a lot of that vision right now, at least. So that's what I would like to say about that.
And to add to that, Anna, I would note that yesterday in our budget discussions, every athlete voted to support the full SEIC request for funding. And,
yeah, that's right.
And agreed that competition needed to carry its own way. So
yes, and as an instructor, I want to see the competition side succeed as well, because I think that there's it's a win-win for all of us, because some folks are attracted to the competition side, and that's awesome. And then they might become instructors and vice versa. So let's just check our own inherent biases when it comes to this and see how can we ask ourselves, what do we have in common? And go from there.
Yeah, I've said it before, we are stronger together. And I think that those missions, the 4 missions we've talked earlier, do intertwine together, and you can't really pull one apart without negatively impacting the others. I would add that if I'm going to make this as a real analogy, that's a bunch of carbon fiber that's woven together, and DEI is the resin that's going to hold it all together and make an incredibly strong paddle for us. So. Thank you.
Robin, you responded to the question regarding the board, the immediate past chair or president no longer being part of the board of directors, or at least having a vote, and that is that you'll be able to attend board meetings and be able to participate as an ex officio member. Other questions, comments? I see no further questions coming in.
All right, Robin, you get to do it one more time.
All right. Well, actually, I'm going to take a moment and close up. It really has been a privilege serving the ACA and the paddling community as board chair, and serving in a number of leadership roles. I've been exposed to some amazing people. I've had the privilege of working with some amazing people, many of whom are on this call. And I'm looking forward to having a little more free time, and I'm actually sad at the same time, because it's been a great opportunity. And so thanks to everybody for all the incredibly kind words that had me crying for about half an hour, and look forward to seeing all of you on the water soon. And I would entertain a motion to adjourn. And if you agree, hang up. Y'all have a great evening.
Thank you all.
Bye.
Take
Thanks,
care.
everyone, for coming.